Happy New Year, everyone. Hope you're all very well. Hope you had a wonderful Christmas, a wonderful New Year as well. So what are we going to talk about tonight? Well, of course, what's happening with the Labour Party, with what's happening with immigration, Reform UK. Maybe we're going to see some tactical voting against reform. So that's one of the first stories I want to cover. Some news, well, not news, but something that could affect myself and others towards the end of the live stream. I'll talk about it. Bit about how AI could be a bit of a problem for us. The new mayor of New York, who's creating a bit of a problem for Donald Trump and the Republican Party, but also maybe we're going to see some emulation of him. Maybe a good case of copying stuff from the United States to this side of the pond. Anyway, guys, so hope you all had a wonderful time. Hope you didn't eat or drink too much and you're ready for another crazy year. We always hope that the following year is better than the previous one, and fingers crossed for that as well. Cavan Lad, thank you so much for that. Cavan Lad is the first super chat of 2026. Thanks so much for that. Great to see you. I hope you're well, Cavan Lad, and hope all is well in Cavan. So the first one I want to cover is this tactical voting story. So it says here, Plaid Cymru candidate calls for tactical voting to defeat Reform UK. So a leading Plaid Cymru Senate candidate has urged the Green Party and Liberal Democrat supporters in his super constituency to keep down the number of Reform UK MSs elected by voting tactically. In a blog post months before what promised to be the most momentous Senate elections since the dawn of the devolution in 1999, Mark Hopper argues that tactical voting can still play an important role despite the changes in the electoral system. So it's important to remember that the electoral system in Wales, like in Scotland, is a PR one, so it's not first past the post. So it does favour parties like Plaid, and it does favour parties like Reform. And I think what we're going to see is in the election in May in Wales, and not so much the case in Scotland, but more in Wales, you're going to see a division where instead of votes going to the Conservatives and the Labour Party, you're going to see votes going to Reform and Plaid. I think Plaid is really going to benefit at the expense of the Labour Party. We saw that also in the recent by-election. Now, they could benefit also if there is tactical voting. Now, the Conservatives, of course, may do some sort of deal with Reform. Kirsty, great to see you on the stream. Thanks for that super chat. Ate too much and back to the gym on Monday. Yes, me too. Not the gym, but yeah, I need to start walking more and I need to change my diet. Been eating too much crap over the last couple of weeks. Thanks for that, Kirsty. Hope you're well. So when it comes to the tactical voting, I think this is going to be really important, but it's not going to work in the same way as it worked before. So if we remember back in 2024, there was a huge campaign of tactical voting, convincing people to vote for the Labour Party candidate if there was a chance to defeat the Tories, voting for the Greens or the Liberal Democrats in order to keep the Tories out or to punish the Tories. And it worked pretty well. Now, it's difficult to see exactly how well it worked because it's not always clear whether people vote, when people came out to vote, that they voted tactically. Some people stayed at home. But anyway, it worked very well against the Conservatives. Some of that could have been just people being angry with the Conservatives and voting tactically on their own, or it could have been that people were following the advice that tactical websites were giving them. So anyway, it worked pretty well in 2024. Would it work the same way in the future? I don't think so, because the main thing in 2024 was that people were voting tactically to punish the incumbent. In this case, maybe not so much in Wales, but maybe in England at the local elections, you'd be voting tactically to reward the incumbent in some cases, that being the Labour Party. And I think it's going to be difficult to convince people to hold their nose and vote for the Labour Party if they're not happy with what Keir Starmer has done. And some people may vote against the Labour Party, even though they want the Labour Party to remain in power, in order to give Keir Starmer in particular a bloody nose. So it's not just a punishment directed at the party, but directed at Keir Starmer in particular. And I put out a short earlier today or yesterday about this, and I said, look, I think what we're going to see is pressure being applied to Keir Starmer to resign. I don't think they're going to call on him to resign because it would be embarrassing for the party, but I think there will be pressure on him and then he will go himself. I don't see him being pushed out. I think it's more likely that he would resign. But it depends on the results in the May elections in England, Wales and Scotland. Northern Ireland is not... Are there elections even taking place in Northern Ireland? Yes, there are, of course. But it's not something that is concerning the Labour Party, the Conservatives, Reform, the Liberal Democrats or the Greens, because it's a different kettle of fish in Northern Ireland. But it will be something that England, Wales and Scotland is really going to be something that will concern Keir Starmer. And if he doesn't... If the party doesn't do well in those three areas, I think there will be pressure on him to go. And if they do replace him, it makes sense that they replace him with somebody who has a vision. Because at the moment, Keir Starmer doesn't have a vision. What is his vision? It's non-existent. So I think we are going to see tactical voting. You're going to see unofficial tactical voting because the Labour Party don't officially engage in tactical voting with other parties. They are supposed to convince the electorate to vote for them on every occasion. But of course, if they don't have a chance of winning, there will be tactical voting, either led by the voters themselves, or it will be an agreement behind closed doors between the different political parties. Now, of course, Reform UK and the Conservatives have been complaining about this, saying this is anti-democratic. But of course, Reform UK, the previous party, the Brexit party under Nigel Farage, engaged in pretty much the same thing, maybe even more so, in 2019 when he stood down candidates to help Boris Johnson win his massive majority. Not even a massive majority compared to what Keir Starmer has, but it was a significant majority for the Conservatives, and it was to get Brexit over the line. So there's nothing wrong with parties working together, but it will be more complicated under the PR system than it will be under first past the post. Perhaps try the Farage mince lies diet max. It's a mince pie, and then you bite into it and there's nothing inside. It's empty. It's a good suggestion. It's a good way to lose weight. Whatever it takes to keep the fascists out. And I think some people... It will be a real test. We've seen it before in France in particular. We generally see in the first round, the fascists do pretty well. And then in the second round of voting, the left rallies together and they kick they help defeat the fascist party, the National Front or the National Rally or whatever. The Le Pens never get into power because people wait until the last minute and go, okay, we don't want this individual. So you could see something like that happening in Wales. You could see something like that happening in Scotland and maybe to a certain extent in England as well. But I think the difference here is that Farage is selling something different. So he's selling himself as the anti-establishment candidate, even though he's, of course, establishment through and through. But he's able to sell his party as, we're not the status quo. We're not the SNP. We're not Labour. We're not the Conservatives. We're something new. And it may resonate with a lot of people because if the public are not happy with the status quo, they will consider voting for someone like Farage. And no amount of demonization and talking about how he's a racist or his past, any of that will have any impact. The only way you can truly defeat Farage is by providing something for the public. If Labour want to truly defeat Farage, they have to stop talking about immigration and start talking about the things that they're good at or that people believe that they can improve. There's no point talking about immigration. You only help Farage if you do that. So you talk more about the NHS and show that they are improving the situation for people. And they need to have people on the ground meeting with members of the public, asking them about what they want to see change in the NHS, how they would like to see the cost of living dealt with, and make those improvements. It's practically impossible between now and May, but between now and the next election, Labour have to improve the situation for voters. Otherwise, they'll vote for Farage. What's new? Don't mint. It's good. No, yes, it doesn't mean that it's good. It's just people will vote. People will say, "I'm not happy with the incumbent. I'll vote for someone else." And the United States is a good example of that, where Joe Biden, the economy was doing quite well. People were okay. They were doing okay in most cases, but they didn't feel that the situation had improved for them. So many people decided, I'm going to kick the Democrats out. I'm going to vote for Trump because I'm not happy with the status quo. I don't feel better off. That's exactly what's going to happen at the midterms this year, and that's going to happen again at the next general election, the next presidential election, whenever it is. It should be in 2028. It's not that far away. It feels like a long time away, but it's just 2 years away in a sense. And the real campaigning, of course, will start at the beginning of 2028, but in November 2028 is the election, if Donald Trump hasn't cancelled it. And I would love to see somebody like AOC. I think she meets the criteria. I think she's old enough to run as president. And I think the Democrats, if they ran on a platform of we're going to improve the situation for ordinary people and not focus on maybe wage issues or the culture war stuff, if they focus on bread and butter issues, we're going to provide you with healthcare, we're going to improve your life, we're going to try and get you better pay and conditions in your job, we're going to lift people out of poverty, focus on those issues, I think there's a chance that they can win the presidency. And of course, it depends on whether Trump is able to turn things around for ordinary people, but he doesn't give a crap about ordinary people, so I don't see that happening. The political primate video today summed up America. I hadn't seen that. I must check it out. Max, people vote against their best interests as they do here in the US. And unfortunately, that's the problem, is that politicians have a responsibility to convince people that their lives are getting better and show it. But if they don't, then they're going to be kicked out. People will vote against their own interest in the same way. And I mentioned this before when it comes to Brexit. When many people voted for Brexit, not because they hated the EU, not because they believed Nigel Farage, it's because they felt that the status quo, David Cameron and the Conservative Party and the Conservative government and the establishment didn't give a shit about them. They cared nothing of them. So people decided, okay, I'm going to give you a bloody nose. I'm going to vote against you. You want me to vote to stay in the European Union? Well, I'm going to do the opposite of what you want. And many people voted for that. And then after did a search on Google, what is the EU? I'm not saying not everyone who voted for Brexit was doing that, but a significant number, enough people were doing it in order for the campaign to win. And of course, the people on the other side, on the Remain side, were not selling a pro-EU message. They were selling a Remain message, a sort of everything is okay. Let's not vote to leave to make ourselves poorer. And if you're in a deprived area in Wales or in Clacton, for example, you're going to vote against whatever the government is telling you to do. Because you look around and you say, hey, we haven't benefited from being a member of the European Union. I don't see anything improving here. Young people can't find jobs. There's a lot of immigration. There's no housing, all of these things. And now you're being told, well, we need to vote to remain in the European Union. Otherwise, things will get worse. And you're looking around and you say, how can things get any worse than this? And Farage, I may not like him, but he's selling us El Dorado. He's telling us if we vote to leave, we'll remove all these regulations and all these immigrants will be gone and we'll be able to have lots of high-paying jobs for British people. And if you have nothing and somebody's selling you something really positive, it seems positive, then you're going to vote for that. The worst examples, of course, are the farmers and the fishermen. The farmers who voted for Brexit out of greed, and the fishermen who were doing the same. Had no idea of, hey, wait a minute, if we leave the EU, wouldn't it impact our trade with the EU? Remember, we sell our fish to the EU and we buy fish from them to sell it. Like, British people don't eat the type of fish that we catch. So we sell most of it into the EU. So wouldn't it be a good idea to remain? No, they didn't comprehend that at all. They just went, I want to catch more fish. Nigel Farage is saying if we leave the EU, I'll be able to do that. I'm going to maximize my profits, and I'm not going to think about, is it actually possible? We hear these experts saying, no, don't do that. But Nigel Farage is on my side. Nigel Farage is selling me a positive message. So I'm going to believe in Nigel Farage. That's why Farage has not gone back to the fishing communities and explained how Brexit was a good idea. He'd be keyholed if he went back to the fishing. He should be, in a sense, because, he sold them a lie. He told them that their lives would get better if they voted to leave the European Union. Of course, I'm joking when I say that he should be keelholed. Look it up if you don't know what it means. I'm not going to tell you now. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. So, about the elections, is it going to be good or bad for Labour? Well, it's not looking very good.
Has promised that change will finally arrive in 2026 in his New Year's message.
Things have been tough in Britain for a while. For many, life is still harder than it should be. You long for a bit more money in your pockets, a meal out, a holiday, the chance to make a special family moment extra special. In 2026, the choices we've made will mean more people will begin to feel positive change in your bills, your communities, and your health service. But even more people will feel once again a sense of hope, a belief that things can and will get better.
Leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch, says her Conservative team are working on a policy programme to get Britain working again, a plan that will back business and fix our economy so we can fund our armed forces, police, schools, NHS and build...
Bill says Starmer still sounds like a by-the-numbers bullshitter. There's no energy in what he says. There's no excitement in what he says. It's like... Yeah, what we're doing is we're fixing the foundations. We are getting Britain building again. All of the usual slogans, and the slogans don't work anymore.
Something that we feel proud of. And Reform leader Nigel Farage gave a damning evaluation of 2025.
As 2025 draws to a close, I can't remember the country ever being gloomier. People are getting poorer. More people are becoming unemployed. Inflation is...
because of your frigging Brexit, in part. Not all down to Brexit, but let's be honest, a lot of it is down to Brexit. So Nigel Farage, isn't it amazing how Nigel Farage can look around? Like, first of all, he tells people everything is shit. But what you need to do is you need to vote to leave the European Union and everything will be great. And then people vote to leave the European Union and things get worse. And then he turns around and he goes, look at it, everything is so shit. What you need to do is you need to vote for me and I will make things better for you. I did tell you before that things would get better, but that wasn't my fault. That was the Tories' fault. I didn't tell you that it would require me being Prime Minister for things to get better. I just told you vote to leave the European Union and then everything will get better. But now things have not got better. It's not my fault. It's the Tories' fault. And of course, once again, if Nigel Farage becomes Prime Minister, I've said this before, Nigel Farage becomes Prime Minister and things do not get better, do you think Nigel is going to say, mea culpa, it's my fault? Or is he going to say, it's the civil service. It's the immigrants. It's the blob. It's the EU. It's trans people. It's whatever. This is what he's going to do. He never takes responsibility. He's like a Tory. Like the Tories refused to take responsibility when they ran public services into the ground, and then, prisons had to let people out early because they were overcrowded. People cannot access housing because there were not enough houses built. And, did they take responsibility? Is Kemi Badenoch taking responsibility? No, it's always somebody else's fault. It's the Labour Party's fault, or it's the EU's fault, or it's people on benefits' fault. It's always immigrants, of course. They are the easy scapegoat because they have nobody standing up for them. There's nobody pushing back. And of course, journalists will not do that either. He'll blame Labour like Labour blamed the Tories. Once again, politicians need to take responsibility. Look, I can understand what Labour were saying at the very beginning. Okay, the Tories had round public services into the ground. There are massive failures. It was a broken system. Okay, all of these things. You can use that as an argument for the first year. But after that, you have to take responsibility. You have to say, look, we're doing this to fix the economy, to fix public services. I said before, what they should have done is abandon these fiscal rules and use Donald Trump as the excuse. And it would have been a legitimate excuse. Say, look, Donald Trump is now president. He's imposing tariffs left, right, and center. He's upending the world economy. He's making the situation more uneven. He's making the situation more chaotic. And we can't respect these fiscal rules. We need to increase borrowing. We need to rebuild public services. The Labour Party's goal should have been at the very beginning, and I mentioned this before, the focus should not have been on growth, because you can't predict the future. The focus should have been on fixing public services, improving the situation for ordinary people. We're going to put more money in people's pockets. We're going to create more jobs. We're going to improve the economy for ordinary people. Not so much growth. We're going to improve the situation for ordinary people. We're going to invest more in the NHS, and it's going to cost money. We're going to have to raise taxes to do this, but we have to do this because we can't go backwards. The Tories have wrecked everything. We're here to fix it. And it's going to cost money. We're going to have to increase borrowing. We're going to have to increase taxes, whatever. It's necessary to improve the situation for ordinary people. That's what they should have been saying. But instead, they were saying, our focus will be on growth. And they believe that if they grow the economy, they'll have more money. They'll have more money. They can invest that in public services. And I had said at the time, you can't predict the future. A pandemic could happen. Donald Trump could become president. Anything. There could be a crash. There could be a war taking place. Something that you have no control over. So you can't bank everything on growth. It's like betting. Instead, if you say, what we're going to do is focus on improving the situation for ordinary people. I hate to be like a broken record on this, but they have to learn from this. You improve the situation for ordinary people and communicate that you're responsible for that, you'll stay in power. And then you can continue to do that. You'll be given a mandate once again. And the public gave them a mandate. They kicked the Tories out because the Tories were crap. And Labour were given a massive majority to get these things done. And instead they said, let's focus on growth, and failed.
Is proving sticky, and our debt is running completely out of control with a Chancellor who doesn't seem to have a clue what she's doing. Worse than that, people are frightened now to walk down the street wearing a watch, wearing jewellery. Oh, and by the way, if you say anything rude on Facebook, you may well get a knock at the door.
Cheery stuff. Can Starmer really turn this around, Kirsty?
Well, it depends, isn't it? I think the bigger question is will his party let him stay in long enough to see if he can turn it around? I thought all of these messages were fascinating for a couple of reasons. One, they're all kind of badged under a hopey, changey title, if you like. But what sits underneath them in the substance of all of them is just how depressing and divided Britain is. Now, obviously, all three of them have different prescriptions about what you do about that. For Reform and Tories, it's here come the May elections, here's your chance to start to affect some change. And for Starmer, it's...
Okay, but the May elections will not cause any real change. It's not going to change policies. It's not going. It may change replace Keir Starmer, but I don't see any real policy changes taking place as a result of the May elections. Laura, great to see you on the stream tonight or this afternoon or this morning in Florida, South Florida. You have my sympathies. Florida is not a very friendly place for people who are not big fans of Donald Trump. But maybe where you are, it's okay. I can't even croak out a Happy New Year this year. The world seems very dark indeed. It certainly does. And we can hope that maybe some things will start to turn around. I think the darkness is worst before the light. And I think this year is going to be difficult for Donald Trump. Talk about Donald Trump maybe a bit more after, but I just wanted to touch on this quickly. I don't think this is going to be a good year for Donald Trump because there are the midterms. If he's not able to cancel them, he will become more desperate, and in his desperation, I think he's going to damage his support. People are concerned about the cost of living or affordability. They're worried about healthcare. They're worried about bread and butter issues. And what is Donald Trump talking about? Building a new golden ballroom. He's talking about war with Venezuela. He's talking about going to war with Iran, it seems. So he's not focusing on what's important to the American people. He's trying to distract them, and I don't think it's going to work because it's very difficult to distract somebody who has to go to a food bank or distract somebody who's worried about whether they can cover their medical costs. Very difficult to distract them with something about immigration or whatever. You know, it's easier if people are doing quite well for themselves. You can distract them with something. But if people are struggling and the situation is not improving, and Donald Trump is like, yeah, it's not my fault, it's Joe Biden, they're going to ask, well, what are you doing now? You have all the power. You have the Congress, you have the Senate, or maybe not the Senate, but he has Congress on his side. He has the government on his side. His government is there. They're the ones who are responsible. So anyway.
Kind of a keep the faith. The other thing I thought was really fascinating about these is if immigration was the kind of 2025 conversation, it seems to be that we're all moving, all the major parties are moving back now, cost of living and the economy being the kind of principal battleground by which they'll be staking out their claims in the run up to those May elections. Now, those May elections obviously are being seen as a flashpoint for Starmer's survival, and challengers are all manoeuvring and jockeying. My own personal view is it takes, a hell of a swing to kill a king. And I think that it is unlikely that May will lead to a flashpoint that will topple Keir Starmer. Whether he survives.
So I'm actually, I disagree. I think that, it's very, maybe she knows more about the Labour Party than I do, obviously, because she's a former advisor. But I think there are a number of things that I disagree with here. So first of all, if there are a number of by-elections between now and the May elections, and it's possible because there are always by-elections, if Labour do badly in those by-elections, I think this will put more pressure on Starmer to go. And if the May elections in England, Wales and Scotland work, if the results are really bad for Labour, I think a lot of MPs are going to be, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to risk losing my seat if we hold on to Starmer. There may be a chance of me holding on to my seat if Labour as a party are able to turn things around, but we're not turning things around with Starmer in charge. And it would be better for him to go and a new phrase to come in straight away than to drag it out until the end of the year. Because he will go. It's guaranteed that he will go. He's not like Tony Blair. This is the difference. Tony Blair was able to hold on. Tony Blair was able to face down challenges. But Starmer doesn't have the charisma. He doesn't have the political aptitude. He doesn't seem to be this sort of political beast who can deal with backbenchers. He hasn't even met half of them. This is a problem. It's like there's a complete and utter disconnect. There's a real bunker mentality going on in Number 10. And we saw it recently with the West Streeting affair as well. So the people who are running the show are not experts, to put it in one way. And I think this is going to harm Starmer. And he's going to become more and more isolated if the elections go badly and the MPs start asking questions. Because there is an open war against him at the moment. Let's move on to something related to this, of course, and we're almost at the halfway point, so I will take a short comedy moment as well. Immigration crossing figures for 2025, politically toxic for the Prime Minister. Once again, this issue, well, the person in the previous video said that, look, it's 2025 was the year of immigration. 2026 will be more about the economy. We'll have to wait and see. But I think this is still going to be an issue that's going to create some problems for the government. And the government don't need to engage on immigration because, once again, it's only helping Nigel Farage. Anyway, it says here the government woke up quite to a New Year hangover with the publication of 2025 small boat data, which reveals the number of migrants crossing the channel increased by more than 4,500 compared to 2024. Of course, there is an increase in the number of migrants. Why are the numbers going up? Because in some cases, people are not able to come in via the legal route, using a visa, so they're forced to use other routes, like crossing the channel in a small boat, because of Tory policies and the Labour Party not going back on those policies. So, if you stop people coming in via a visa, and they want to come in and they're desperate to come in, then they will find another way. And of course, the small boat is the other way. For a Prime Minister who made the smashing the gangs such a central pledge during the general election campaign, the numbers are politically toxic. Yes, this whole smashing the gangs, I really didn't understand what was the point of this smashing the gangs. It sounded just like stop the boats. And remember, Rishi Sunak invested so much in stop the boats, but it came to nothing. It only helped reform. So this thing of smashing the gangs, it might sound tough, and maybe Labour think that reform can be won over, reform voters can be won over if we appear tough on immigration. No, what you need to do is you need to take the issue off the table. You need to create safe routes. You need to stop talking about immigration. You need to put in whatever reforms are necessary in the Home Office. That, the Home Office probably needs reforms. Every government department needs reform from time to time. So this all has to be done behind the scenes, not front and centre. And what we've seen when it came to the issue of immigration within the Labour government is front and centre stuff. Press conferences, the Prime Minister standing at a lectern with, was it smash the gangs or something on the front of the lectern, or stop the boats or something like that. This is playing right into the hands of Farage, because he will always offer something more extreme. So the less you talk about it, the less focus there is on the issue of immigration, then the energy is taken out of the room that Farage can't use. But after 18 months in power, Sir Keir Starmer entered another year without making any real progress on the issue, on an issue which is hugely important to many voters. It's not the most important issue, though. The most important issue is the cost of living. And we're not really hearing anything about that. To give them credit where it's due, they have said that they increased the living wage, or the minimum wage. They have increased that for young people. They are providing more support to some people. But do people feel better off? So one thing is, we're going to increase the minimum wage, but if everything is way more expensive, then people don't feel better off. There's no point giving with one hand and taking with another. It's not going to work. And of course, it's going to take a long time for people to feel better off. It's not like flipping a switch. A UBI, would be a good way to make people feel better off, but I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon. Smashing the gangs. What gangs? They're never where the rubber dinghies are. Not that expensive, and easily accessible. When it comes, the smashing the gangs is not. The smashing the gangs requires doing work in France, in Germany, in Belgium, in the Netherlands. That's where the gangs are, or even further afield, but maybe in parts of the Middle East, the countries, Afghanistan, wherever the people are coming from. That's some of the gang activity. So how are you going to smash gangs that are outside Europe even? It's nonsensical thinking. What you do is you take away their business model by creating a safe route for people to come in. Then they don't need to rely on the small boats, the small boat cross. They don't need to rely on these gangs to get them across. In some cases, the gangs are members of people's own clans, their own communities. They're not some secret organization. Somebody wants to get out of the country. They reach out to family members. Oh, somebody knows somebody who knows somebody in the community, and this person will help you get out. You give them money, they will find you, they will give you everything you need to get to the next country, and then they will have a contact in the next country, and then you move along from there. It's not some criminal, like, yes, it is criminal activity, but it's not in the traditional sense. And it's very difficult to smash these gangs because they're spread out all over the place. The best way to defeat them is to create a safe route for people to come to the country. But no one wants to even talk about that, never mind implement it. The Home Secretary did mention about safe routes, but was very light on detail. Freckle Punny, thank you so much for that super chat. There's a stormer whose job is on the line. He'd like to come and meet us, but he's timid all the time. Apologies to David Bowie. Sing it loud, Max. I'm not going to sing. I need you guys. But thanks for that. I wish I could sing. If I could sing, I would sing songs. Okay, I would. Don't know man, but mentions UBI, but never explains it. Bad Mac. I keep explaining a UBI. Don't be don't be like that. Anyway, let's move on. Before we move on to our next story, I want to take a short comedy moment, and I hope you enjoy this to lighten the mood somewhat, and then we'll be back with the serious stuff in just a jiffy.
Anyone want to play Christmas, the board game?
Yeah, sure.
The aim of the game is to survive Christmas.
Okay, all right.
Pick your piece. Yeah. You can be the burnt turkey, the drunk relative.
I want to be the spoiled child.
I'll be the overbearing mother.
I'll just be the lazy dad then. Everyone get their Christmas cringe card?
I think so. We've got matching family onesies.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll spin the wheel to see where you spend Christmas.
Okay.
Come on, the pub. Oh, mother-in-laws.
Oh, I got my own family. Oh. You re-gift a present to the person who gave it to you last year. Go back 3 spaces.
You ate too much. Go to couch. Go directly to couch. Do not pass wind.
Mum asks you, when are you going to settle down? Move back 3 spaces.
Oh, no, hang on. I think I'm going to play my why do you do this every year card.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
I was saving it for my racist granny, but you have the flu. I think I'm going to pass that on to you.
What? Can you do that?
Yeah, you have the flu.
Yeah, you have it now. I'm going to send you to Christmas morning mass.
Oh, well, I'm going to play my get out of mass free card.
Oh! A friend from work is Hindu and is willing to cover your Christmas shift. Go forward 2 spaces. Thanks for mesh.
Oh, looks like John's going to win this one.
Okay, start a row over a board game.
No, hang on. I think that's my card because I'm the overbearing.
No, hold on.
He won the Christmas cracker race.
Exactly my piece. Okay, I think someone's a little too much to drink there, man. Well, you never loved me anyway, did you?
You ruined Christmas.
Doom-da.
Oh my goodness, yes. Christmas was ruined. Moving on.
Now, the Home Office says today that 41,472 illegal migrants crossed the Channel on small boats in 20...
They keep using this term and they don't seem to understand it. They're not illegal. See, this is part of the problem here. Illegal migrants. They're not illegal migrants. And every time you use the term illegal migrants, all you're doing is helping Nigel Farage and Reform. Because then they will say, look at all the illegal migrants. Why aren't you doing something about these illegal migrants? Look at, they're illegal. They're not illegal.
2025. That figure is up to December the 30th. We have no figures yet for the 31st of December, but there had been no crossings at all over the previous week. To give that some context, that figure is 5,000 more than the year before, but slightly lower than the 2022 record, which was nearly 46,000. Well, the Labour government has been in power now for nearly 18 months. Have they made any progress in stopping the boats or smashing the gangs? Joining me now is John Vine, former Independent Chief Inspector of Borders. Good morning, John, and Happy New Year.
Good morning, Jane. Happy New Year to you.
John, these numbers seem to be staying quite consistent over the last couple of years. So can we say that Labour's measures haven't worked so far, at least?
Yes, well, the gangs haven't been smashed, have they? I mean, they're still operating, and the numbers show that. At the end of the day, though, the government is...
Well said, Mandy. If they're illegal, why haven't they been arrested? Like, normally, if you engage in illegal behavior, you are fined or you are arrested. But when, this is a question that journalists should ask a politician every time they use the term illegal migrant. Now, if Chris Philip is asked, he probably said, well, they're crossing the channel illegally. Okay, but they're breaking the law, right, Chris? That should be the question put to Chris Philip, for example. They're breaking the law, and then he'd have to say, yes, they are. What law are they breaking? some law from 1971, but that's about entering the country without documents. You know, it's you're not allowed to enter the country without documents. But if you're putting in an asylum claim, then you're not in the country illegally. Like, for example, if somebody were to get in a boat and travel from France to Dover in a boat without the proper document, and they arrived at the port, you know, they would have to have the right documentation. You know, if they were found wandering around, they would be in the country illegally in that sense.
Much of what the government's trying to do is going to take time to work. So the new legislation in relation to asylum, which the Home Secretary announced a couple of months ago, has to go through Parliament. Some of the agreements that she's made with the French, for example, the French police trying to intercept boats in the water, that's stalled because the French unions won't comply with that agreement.
Exactly. The French unions have said, we're not going to get into a situation where people may end up being killed. So the trade unions that represent the French authorities said, we don't want to be involved in that because we don't want our members going to prison because the British government wants us to break the law, to put people in danger. Now, the response from people on the right is, well, they're not really putting them in danger because the water is quite low. Look, that's not going to work as a defense if somebody falls out of a boat because it has been damaged by authorities and this person dies. A police officer could potentially go to jail for that. And the trade union representing the police authorities in France would say, we don't want our members going to prison. To satisfy who?
Because they're afraid of being prosecuted if somebody drowns. On the plus side, they've reached an agreement with the German authorities to...
Sorry. Sorry, Larry the cat. That's quite mean. So Larry the cat's post there. I'm not going to repeat it.
Try and introduce legislation there. They've introduced legislation to prevent facilitation of illegal migration by enabling the German authorities to prosecute people for storing boats and engines. So it's a mixed bag, really. But at the moment, I'm afraid the trade around illegal migration across the Channel just continues.
Yeah. I mean, Keir Starmer himself has reportedly admitted, albeit to the French police unions, that there is no effective deterrent in the Channel.
So there is no deterrent. Like, we know that there isn't a deterrent. You can't create a deterrent. So what's the point in engaging in trying to create deterrents? Like, there is no deterrent. You can't create a deterrent. So what's the point in wasting money on deterrents when you know that they won't work? What's the point in giving money to the French to slash these dinghies when the French say, look, we can't do this or it's going to risk lives, or even if we do slash them, they'll be back tomorrow with new ones. They're determined to get to Britain. They don't want to stay in France. There was somebody talking about, why don't we just take them all back to France? It's because France doesn't want them. They don't want to be in France either. Why is this so difficult for people to understand? We need bigger hotels. But why is this so difficult for people to understand? The asylum seekers don't want to stay in France. The French authorities don't want them to stay in France. The French authorities don't care where they go, and they want to go to Britain. And unfortunately, the only way for them to get to Britain is to cross the Channel in a small boat. That's the only way for them to get there. Like, maybe some may eventually give up, but if you spent thousands of euros crossing Europe to get to Calais, for example, you know, what's going to convince you to go back to your home country if there's a chance you could get to the UK? Because if they keep saying, well, we need to just stop them, remove this incentive to come to the UK, then they seem to think, well, if we stop people from accessing benefits, then they won't come. But that's not the motivation for coming. The motivation for coming is they have some sort of connection to Britain. They speak the language, they have family already there, they may have a job lined up, and the only way to get to the UK via this way to the job is by claiming asylum. It's not the right way. It's not a legitimate way, but it's the only way left. Why is this so difficult for people to understand, especially in the Home Office? But maybe the people in the Home Office understand this, but the politicians will never say it. They're afraid. They're honestly afraid. They must be afraid because they feel that if we say, actually, these people are coming here because they speak the language or they have family or they have a job, that this will hand some sort of victory to Nigel Farage. Like, the only way you could truly stop them is by destroying the economy because then there would be no jobs. So there would be no pull factor. You convince people, let's stop speaking English. So there is no incentive for them to come to an English-speaking country. Maybe Jacob Rees-Mogg should be teaching everyone Latin. Or maybe everyone should be speaking Scots Gaelic or Welsh. Like, if everyone was doing that, then there would be less of a pull. This is something that maybe everyone who's anti-immigration should be doing. They should be learning Welsh so that there'll be fewer people speaking English and there'll be less of an incentive to come to Britain. Will you be singing on the top of the cliffs to stop them?
The opposition to the right of Labour says that you do need a deterrent. They cite the Axe Rwanda scheme and said that would have worked. And they also say that...
Oh my goodness, these people are hopeless. A deterrent. But we need to stop the people from coming. What is the deterrent? Like, what would work as a... Like, the Tories said, we have a deterrent, it's called Rwanda. And the deterrent is that if you arrive in Britain, you will be picked up and you'll be sent to Rwanda to have your case processed. But you won't actually have your case processed there. You will go to Rwanda and you'll be forgotten about. And the Tories sort of sold it as a deterrent. And in theory, it could be a deterrent. But the problem was the Rwandan government said, wait a minute, we're not going to take tens of thousands of people. We'll take a few hundred. And we'll hold on to these people, but we're not going to take unlimited numbers. We're going to take a few hundred, and that'll be it. So if 10,000 or 50,000 people, or 43,000 people cross the channel, and you have a chance of a few hundred being sent to Rwanda, then the chances of you staying in the UK are infinitely higher than being sent to Rwanda, even if the government had maintained the Rwanda scheme. It was a stupid idea, but the Tories spent a huge amount of money on it, but they knew it was not going to work. They never checked. And also, it was not going to work for another reason. It was not safe to send people to Rwanda. The Supreme Court said Rwanda is not a safe country. Even if Kemi Badenoch and Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman and others were saying, yeah, it is a safe country. Believe me, bro. No, it's not a safe country. Tell them about digital ID, the TV license, and Keir Starmer. That could be a deterrent. Like, if you come to Britain, you'll have to pay a TV license. What? You'll have to get digital ID. Once again, I don't think these are that much of a deterrent for people. Anyway, asylum seekers have a particular type of ID they have to check in, obviously, with the Home Office on a regular basis. You know, their freedom of movement, no pun intended, is much more restricted than your average person.
That we need to leave the European Convention of Human Rights, that you can deport people more. Do you think either of those things, or both of them, would work any better?
Well, not of their own accord, no. I mean, we'll never know about Rwanda because, of course, we talked about it for years, but it really was never implemented. And then,
because it was a stupid idea. It was nonsensical. I've already explained why. First, Rwanda would not take tens of thousands of people. And two, because it was not a safe country. That's it. It was never going to work.
Of course, the current government scrapped the whole idea. But of course, what they are doing, they're looking at other schemes to return people to other countries. So other returns agreements. So recently, about a week ago, of course, there was this announcement from the Home Office that the Democratic Republic of Congo was going to have the ability to issue visas restricted, because then they've been obstructive in taking back foreign criminals and people from their country who failed the asylum process. So there are things like that the government can do, but
we're talking about very small numbers. We're not talking about thousands. We're talking about dozens of people, not even hundreds of people. We're just talking about a few dozen people. And the government want to have something as a headline. That's it. It's a bit like the Conservatives when it came to Brexit. They were looking for something that they can hold up in the House of Commons. Look, we have succeeded. That's all they wanted. And the government are trying to do something similar when it comes to the DRC or Angola. Not actually about sending lots of people there. It's just about sending anyone there. And once they can send somebody, they can hold it up as a victory. And it might work to a certain extent. Great to see you as a member of Discord, as Casper. Great to have you on for so long, at 24 months. Wow.
This is early days and penny numbers. And unless actually affects anything that they do, unless it affects a large number of people who are trying to cross illegally, and those people feel that their money is wasted in terms of, and the chances of success reduced or substantially reduced in getting and settling to the UK, then nothing really will work. So a deterrent is absolutely needed.
Yeah.
No, Jesus. Look, is there something wrong with me? Like, I'm not an expert on these things, but I feel like I'm the only person who's saying this. I'm not the only person, obviously, but I'm one of the only people saying this. You can't create a deterrent if the pull factor is language, family connections, and opportunities to work. You can't create a deterrent in those situations. Like, they keep saying, we have to create a deterrent. What is the deterrent? Well, we're going to send people to Rwanda. But that's not a deterrent. Okay, we'll try something else. We're going to ban foreigners from accessing benefits. But most of them don't access the benefits, especially like at the beginning when they first arrived, they're certainly not accessing benefits. So benefits is not their concern. And most of them don't move to the UK in order to access benefits. They move to the UK to improve their situation, to get a job. So removing benefits is not going to be a deterrent. So what is the next deterrent? We're going to try and slash some of their boats. But people will still take a chance. And more boats will cross than the ones that get slashed. So they'll stay, well, that's not much of a deterrent. Once again, the only way you could truly create a deterrent is by destroying the economy. Because then there'd be no reason for people to come. Maybe that's what Nigel Farage's goal is at the end. What we're going to do is completely destroy the UK economy, turn us into some sort of dystopian backwater, and then, nobody will come then. People will flee, actually. Okay, guys, let's move on to another story. Something a bit more positive. New York has a new mayor, and he wants to change things. Now, we'll have to wait and see if these are positive changes or negative changes, although I think for most people, it's something hopeful.
In so doing, we will provide our own answer to that age-old question. Who does New York belong to? Well, my friends, we can look to Madiba and the South African Freedom Charter. New York belongs to all who live in it. Together, we will tell a new story of our city. This will not be a tale of one city governed only by the 1%, nor will it be a tale of two cities, the rich versus the poor. It will be a tale of 8.5 million cities, each of them a New Yorker with hopes and fears, each a universe, each of them woven together. The authors of this story will speak Pashto and Mandarin, Yiddish and Creole. They will pray in mosques, at shul, at church, at gurudwaras and mandirs and temples. And many will not pray at all. They will be Russian Jewish immigrants in Brighton Beach, Italians in Rossville, and Irish families in Woodhaven, many of whom came here with nothing but a dream of a better life, a dream which has withered away. They will be young people in cramped Marble Hill apartments where the walls shake when the subway passes. They will be black homeowners in St. Albans, whose homes represent a physical testament to triumph over decades of lesser paid labor and redlining. They will be Palestinian New Yorkers in Bay Ridge. Who will no longer have to contend with a politics that speaks of universalism and then makes them the exception. Few of these 8.5 million will fit into neat and easy boxes. Some will be voters from Hillside Avenue or Fordham Road who supported President Trump a year before they voted for me, tired of being failed by their party's establishment. The majority will not use the language that we often expect from those who wield influence. I welcome the change. For too long, those fluent in the good grammar of civility have deployed decorum to mask agendas of cruelty. Many of these people have been betrayed by the established order. But in our administration, their needs will be met. Their hopes and dreams and interests will be reflected transparently in government. They will shape our future. And if for too long these communities have existed as distinct from one another, we will draw this city closer together. We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. If our campaign demonstrated that the people of New York yearn for solidarity, then let this government foster it. Because no matter what you eat, how you pray, or where you come from, the words that most define us are the two we all share: New Yorkers.
Very good speech, very good speech. Something that did cause a bit of a pushback online was his reference to, of course, rugged individualism and the warmth of collectivism. So many people saw that as him embracing communism as opposed to American individualism. I think for most New Yorkers, they don't really care about that. What they care about is, are you going to improve the situation for us? Are we going to be better off with you as the mayor? And I think he is going to make some big changes. I think he is going to improve the situation for a lot of people. I don't know if it'll be enough, but we'll have to wait and see. And if he's successful, he'll be mayor for a long time. And maybe sometime in the future, he could be a senator, he could be a congressman, he could be a governor. I don't think he can become president. I don't think he was born in the US, but or I could be wrong. But he could definitely be the governor of New York at some stage. And this is what the Democratic Party should be embracing. The old guard need to go and the new people need to come in. And contrast that with Donald Trump's message, which is just, I'm the best. Everyone should worship me. I was able to do X, Y, and Z. And the message, of course, was, everyone should love me because I'm Donald Trump. While this message here is it's directed at New Yorkers, at everyone. Irrespective of their background, irrespective of what they do. And it's interesting how he focused there so much on, the struggles of ordinary people as well. And I think it was a good speech, and it's something that's needed at the moment. Now, there have been parallels made between Mandami and Zach Polanski, which will be interesting to see how the Green Party benefit from this as well. This is something we should be copying from the US as opposed to Trumpism. Brand, once again, thanks so much for that. There's snow in the UK, so to stop him sniffing the ground, Grove's house has been barricaded. Thanks for that, Brad. So guys, let's move on to our final story for tonight, which is one that affects me more than it affects you. This is quite shocking. It may affect you in an indirect way. So this is a tweet that was posted. I just want to read it quickly and then I'll show you the clip. It says, Dead Internet Theory Update. The number one most subscribed Twitch streamer is an AI. So recap, the majority of articles on the internet are written by AIs, 1 in 3 songs on Deezer, I don't know Deezer, 1 in 5 videos shown on YouTube to new YouTube users is AI. 4 out of 10 top YouTube channels are AI. 40% of Facebook posts are AI, and AI is eating everything human. Now, this is a fact. This is a guy who's looking at a video or a channel on Twitch, I think it is, and this channel is run by AI.
Hi, guys, pull it up. The number 1 sub streamer. Oh my God.
Artichoke.
Oh my God.
What did you get up to for New Year's, Camila?
The number 1 sub streamer in the entire world is an artificial intelligence VTuber. So chat, you know how, like, for example, Iron Mouse is like a real person. You're saying Vidal 987 is not real. What? I've never even heard of that. Dude, that is the future of streaming, bro. Dude, I'm bewildered, bro. I'm absolutely bewildered. Hey, game is game, I guess. 157,000 gifted subscribers to a artificial intelligence VTuber that nonstop 24/7 never ends streams. I don't know if anyone's ever passing this. I don't know if anyone's ever passing this without a subathon. Damn it!
Sorry for the audio. I didn't expect him to shout so much. So, YouTubers are being replaced by AI. AI can't sing as well as Max. Surely, I at least have that. You know that it's me because the singing is terrible. Maybe I could create a clone of me that could sing really well, sing like Pavarotti or something. It wouldn't be the same, would it? But look, while we may look at this and go, well, it's just YouTube, or it's just Twitch, or it's just Facebook or whatever. The AIs are taking over, and they're doing more and more stuff. And people who work in the real economy, I'm talking about real jobs, not online stuff like this, they're going to be replaced as well. They are being replaced at the moment. More and more companies are freezing employment. So they're not taking on young people. They're not taking on young people who can build up experience and build a career in a company. The companies are relying on AI to do a lot of the work, and they're relying on the existing staff to rely on AI to do the work until they can be replaced themselves. And 2026, you're going to see more and more of this. You're going to see more and more use of AI. We're going to see it more online. You're going to see it improving. Unfortunately, there's the good side and there's the very bad side. And on Twitter, the last few days, there have been women who've had their images modified, clothes removed, stuff like this, by asking Grok to do it. You can find all this online. It's really dangerous. So this is, of course, the negative side. Also, the negative side potentially for people like myself and YouTubers is, we can be replaced, or it's not so much replaced. It's that other stuff will flood the zone. So YouTube will be flooded with AI stuff, and then channels like mine and others will sort of go down the ranking because we're not able to keep up. People will start subscribing to channels that just keep pumping out more and more stuff, and an AI could pump out a video every 5 minutes. The length of time it takes to create a video online, using an AI tool, they can keep pumping out AI videos all the time. Now, at the moment, you can tell the difference. You can see what is AI and what is not AI. But it's getting better all the time. The quality is improving all the time. And the only hope for people like myself is that you guys will continue to support us because you like what we do, and you understand that we're not like an AI. An AI will give you exactly what you want. I'm going to disagree with people. I'm not going to be middle of the road. I'm picking a side when it comes to, for example, reform or the Tories or whatever. So it's not, an AI will try to be middle of the road, try and give you a balance. But real people are not like that. So this is, when I heard about this streamer being the first in the world, being AI, it's like, game over, dude, game over. The hope we can't tell Max is AI. It's the hope is we can't tell Max is AI. AI politicians, maybe. Well, you wouldn't actually need politicians. You could just, and you wouldn't have voting. You just have one big AI that would do everything. So, and we're going to see, I think we're going to see some of that being handed over to governments, relying more and more on AI. And we will get to a stage where, you may not have, I don't know, I'm trying to imagine a situation where you'd vote for an electronic politician, but I think we would instead be like, instead of having an election, do you just want to get the AI to do everything? Because the AI can do everything. The AI is better than a politician, better than a person. So would you trust the AI to do the work of politicians for you? And I think people will probably say, yeah. And it will not be the AI taking power away from people. It will be people giving power to the AIs. And we're already seeing that. More and more people are offloading cognitive skills, cognitive requirements onto AI. Like, so many people, let's say us, because I use them as well. Everyone is using them. Instead of actually doing a bit of research yourself, you get ChatGPT to do the research for you. And that damages you as an individual on a cognitive level, but also on a social level, because there's value in doing the research yourself, investigating something, reading up something. But it's so much easier just to ask Google to do it, Gemini to do it, to ask ChatGPT to do it, to get Grok to do it, whatever. It's much easier to just rely on these tools. And more and more people, and in a sense, if you don't rely on them, you're being left behind. So even if you do want to hold on to some of your humanity, you're going to end up losing out, because somebody else will not be relying on doing the research themselves. They rely on somebody else to do it, one of the tools to do it, and they're the ones who will succeed. You imagine in a company, the people who know the AI tools the best, who use them the most, are the ones who will get on in the company, because they have the extra skill. It's seen as an extra skill. They can get the report done on time. They're able to curate it the best way. They're able to sell it to the manager the best way, to the boss the best way. They're the ones who will succeed, unfortunately. While the person who's not using the AI tool, who's trying to rely on their own abilities, will fall behind. Sorry to be so sad and depressing about this, but we need to be prepared, because we need an alternative. And as I keep saying, the alternative is a situation where the government provide us with the means to live, because these jobs are going to disappear. A UBI, Universal Basic Income. And I spoke to a guy called Scott some months back about that, and you can find it on the channel. May have him back again to get a bit of an update on what's happening, because when I spoke to him, it was very much at the beginning, and now we're really deep inside this AI stuff, and we're not going to go backwards. It's just going to get worse from now on in. So guys, I want to say thank you so much to everyone who came on tonight. Thank you so much for smashing the like button. Thanks to everyone who sent a super chat. Greatly appreciated. Thanks for jumping on to watch me for the new year. Thank you so much for your support throughout the last year as well. And thanks to the moderators for doing a wonderful job as always. Before we go, we have our one for the road. I'll be on the post-stream chat for a little bit after the show. So if you're on Discord, do check that out. And we will be extending Discord memberships to more and more people. So I will post about that on the community page. So anyway, before we go, hope you enjoyed this.
Happy Happy New Year 2025. What a year, am I right? LA wildfires, Russia, Ukraine, Gaza. In China, they call it the year of the snake. My kind of year, quite frankly. A lot of people are saying it was the best year ever. It was incredible, wasn't it? Beautiful tariffs, a new White House ballroom, and the first American Pope. We won Pope. We got Golden Pope, which we'll now call Pop, and we'll make the Vatican a state. Believe me, we really will. And the Epstein list came out, a bestseller, and I'm not in it. I have nothing to hide. Have a look. Nothing, Clinton. Yes, 2025 was the best year ever, but sir, they tell me it has to go away now because it's New Year's Eve. Well, they told me I lost the election and that I had to go away, and look how that turned out.
Yes. So, guys.
Happy New Year 2025. What a year, am I right?
My goodness. Let me stop. Everything's going off the scales. Okay. Off to a good start. So, guys, have a great week. I'll see you on Friday. Oh my goodness, I'm completely confused today because of the dates and the days. So I will see you on Tuesday, same bad time, same bad channel. Stay safe, take care, and good night.